What makes a person truly evil? Is it the circumstances they're born into, the choices they make, or the pleasure they take in the suffering of others? Throughout history, few names have evoked as much horror as that of Irma Grese, the notorious SS officer of Auschwitz and Bergen-Belsen. But behind the striking blue eyes and youthful beauty lay a darkness so profound that even hardened Nazi officers were disturbed by her brutality. What drove this woman to commit some of the most unspeakable acts of cruelty ever recorded? And why did she smile while doing it? This is the story of Irma Grese, the beautiful beast of Auschwitz, a woman who turned killing into an art, whose whip cracked louder than the screams of her victims, and whose name became synonymous with sadism and death. Born on October 7, 1923 in Rechen, Germany, Irma Grese was the third of 5 children in a humble farming family. Her father, Alfred Grese, was a strict and conservative man, while her mother, Berta, suffered from depression and took her own life when Irma was just a young girl. Some say that loss hardened Irma, while others believe she was always destined for darkness. As a child, she was reportedly quiet, shy, and often bullied by her peers. She was neither remarkable in her studies nor particularly ambitious, except for one obsession. She idolized Adolf Hitler. She devoured Nazi propaganda, dreaming of serving the Reich in a role greater than just a housewife or a farm girl. At 15, she left school and attempted to become a nurse, only to fail. But her next career choice would shape history forever. In 1942, at just 19 years old, Irma Grese joined the SS as an auxiliary guard at the Ravensbrück concentration camp, a facility primarily used to imprison women. At an age when most young women were beginning their adult lives with dreams of the future, Grese was stepping into a world of cruelty and oppression. But rather than being repulsed by the horrors around her, she embraced them. She didn't see suffering as something to be avoided, she saw it as an opportunity. It was at Ravensbrück that Grese discovered her calling, not as a caregiver or a mere enforcer of Nazi rule, but as a tormentor. She quickly developed a reputation for extreme brutality, often going beyond what was expected, even by the already inhumane standards of the SS. Prisoners feared her sadistic punishments, and even some fellow guards found her methods excessive. Her merciless efficiency and unwavering dedication to cruelty did not go unnoticed. High-ranking officials saw potential in her, and within a year she was transferred to Auschwitz, the largest and most infamous of all Nazi concentration camps. Here, in a place designed for death, Irma Grese didn't just follow orders, she thrived. She relished the power she held over life and death. Irma Grese strutted through Auschwitz in a perfectly pressed blue uniform, her blonde hair neatly braided, her polished boots glinting in the sun. But her beauty was a cruel mask, hiding the soul of a sadist. Prisoners whispered about her, their voices shaking with fear. She carried a whip and a pistol, both of which she used liberally. Survivors later testified that she would unleash her trained German Shepherd on inmates for sport, watching with delight as they screamed and bled. Others spoke of her pleasure in selecting prisoners for the gas chambers, smiling as she sealed their fate. But what made her truly terrifying was her complete lack of remorse. Witnesses described her as laughing while torturing victims, her blue eyes gleaming with enjoyment as she carried out acts of unspeakable horror. She was no mere soldier following orders. She was a woman who killed with pleasure. As if her daily acts of cruelty weren't enough, Irma Grese took a special interest in the medical experiments conducted by the infamous Dr. Joseph Mengele. Known as the Angel of Death, Mengele performed grotesque procedures on prisoners, including children, and Grese was always eager to assist. She would select test subjects, drag them to Mengele's laboratory, and watch as they suffered unimaginable pain. She stood by as chemicals were injected into prisoners' eyes to try and change their color. She laughed when twins were sewn together to create artificial conjoined siblings. It is said that she even suggested new experiments herself, eager to push the limits of human suffering. By early 1945, the Nazi Empire was crumbling, and as Allied forces closed in, Grese was transferred to Bergen-Belsen. Here she continued her reign of terror, but her time was running out. On April 15, 1945, British troops liberated the camp, uncovering the atrocities that had taken place within its walls. Grese was captured, and the world finally got to see the face of the monster. Even in captivity, she showed no fear. Witnesses recalled her standing tall, unrepentant, even smirking when confronted with the evidence of her crimes. But justice was swift. Irma Grese was put on trial for war crimes, along with other SS officers, in what became one of the most infamous tribunals following World War II. The proceedings, known as the Belsen trial, took place in the autumn of 1945 and brought to light the unimaginable horrors committed within the concentration camps. The evidence against Grese was overwhelming, as dozens of survivors stepped forward to provide harrowing testimonies of her brutal reign. Witnesses described her as sadistic, merciless, and completely devoid of empathy. Some recalled how she beat prisoners to death with a whip, while others recounted the terrifying way she set her dogs on those who failed to work to her satisfaction. The trial left no doubt that Grese had been an active participant in mass murder, torture, and abuse. The verdict? Death by hanging. Found guilty of crimes against humanity, Grese was sentenced alongside other notorious war criminals, including camp commandants and fellow female guards. The execution was scheduled for December 13, 1945. At just 22 years old, Irma Grese was led to the gallows in Hamelin Prison, where British executioner Albert Pierpoint awaited. Unlike some of her fellow condemned, she did not struggle or cry. Witnesses described her as eerily calm, even in the face of death. As the noose was placed around her neck, she turned to her executioner, looked him in the eye, and uttered her final word, "Schnell," German for quickly. Her body fell through the trapdoor, ending the life of the woman who had come to be known as the beautiful beast of Auschwitz. Her execution, swift and unceremonious, brought justice to many who had suffered under her sadistic rule. Even decades after her death, Irma Grese's name still invokes terror, a grim reminder of the horrors that unfolded within Nazi concentration camps. Her legacy is one of brutality, a chilling testament to the depths of human cruelty. But how did a young girl from a modest rural upbringing transform into one of history's most infamous war criminals? Was she inherently evil, or did the Nazi regime's poisonous ideology shape her into the sadistic enforcer she became? Irma Grese's early life offered little hint of the cruelty she would later unleash. Raised in a strict household, she left school at a young age, drifting between jobs before finding a place within the Nazi system. Initially working as a nurse's assistant, she soon abandoned any pretense of care and sought a position where she could exert power. Her devotion to Nazi ideology propelled her into the role of concentration camp guard, where she quickly distinguished herself not through obedience alone, but through an unrestrained appetite for violence. Grese was not simply a follower of orders. She was an architect of suffering. Her brutality was not a duty, it was a passion. She did not just enforce the horrors of the Holocaust, she amplified them. Witnesses recalled her selecting prisoners for execution with a chilling enthusiasm, inflicting pain with an almost gleeful cruelty. She was feared not only for the acts she committed, but for the pleasure she took in committing them. By the time she arrived at Auschwitz, she had become something far worse than a soldier of the regime. She'd become its willing executioner, a woman who killed not out of necessity, but out of desire. One thing remained certain. Irma Grese was not an ordinary soldier blindly following commands. She embraced her role with zeal, became a symbol of cruelty, and left behind a legacy that history will never forget. What do you think? Can someone be born without a conscience, or is evil something learned? Let us know in the comments below, and remember, history must never be forgotten, lest we allow it to repeat itself.